Which one? You're over here?
Oh, you're over here. I feel like this is going to be a little bit tough for me. Let's see if I can do
Let's
it.
hype her up.
I got it. Hi, everybody. My name is Sari Katz, and I am on the YouTube Content Partnerships team. It is my pleasure and absolute honor to get to work with Gigi. We've been working together for like, what, 2 years?
I was going to say 3.
Okay, maybe 3. Actually,
Yeah,
you're
long
right.
time,
You're right,
yeah.
because you didn't remember this, but the first time we did like an interview together was
Yes.
May of 2017? So May 2014.
In Canada.
In Canada. We're
Yeah.
both Canadians. Any proud? Yes!
Yes.
Yes! Some proud Canadians in the room.
Now we're talking.
That's right. That's right. Everybody else can just leave. No,
Yeah, exactly.
This is a welcome space. So yes. So I hope most, if not all of you, are familiar with the lovely Gigi Loren, otherwise known as Gigi Gorgeous. If you're not, Gigi's got almost, 3 million subs on YouTube now?
Mm-hmm.
That's right, like 360-something million views on her channel. Gigi is a beacon of positivity and beauty and has been an incredible inspiration to her fans and the family at YouTube. So we've already welcomed her, but welcome, Gigi.
Thanks for having me.
So, why don't we start off by talking about your YouTube channel?
Cool.
So, what inspired you to start on YouTube?
I was actually really bored in high school. I went to a Catholic school, so I was in a uniform every day. We only had like 1 day out of the month to dress how we wanted. So I had a lot of creativity, and I had actually just stopped competitive diving. I was national champion in Canada, so I was kind of like at the top of the game. I was on the way to the Olympics. But I kind of just fell out of love with the sport. I was just like, really, I don't want to do this anymore. So I quit, just full turkey quit. Everyone was like, oh my God, what the hell? What is she gonna do with her life? So I was in high school, socializing. I was finally like had a social life because I was diving all the time, practicing. So I saw Michelle Phan, who actually is a makeup artist, and she is so talented, she kills it. And I saw her YouTube channel, and I was like, I want to start doing makeup. So I stole my mom's makeup and tested it out online, and I kept on uploading. I kept on growing, as did the website.
Yep. Do you remember your first video?
I do. It was sitting on my bedroom floor with my digital camera. I think it was so old, not cute at all. Couldn't see what I was doing. And then I just put it online. I forget what I edited with, but it was just, I put it in the fastest fast forward I could, and then I put Rihanna's Disturbia, the song, behind it, which was my favorite jam at the time. And yeah, that was my first one. And then I think I did like makeup collections, and then it kind of transitioned into lifestyle. I started talking about my life, what I was going through, not just strictly makeup. And now those are kind of my favorite videos to do. Sitting down and talking.
Lifestyle, yeah. I know. I do love your story times.
Thanks.
I mean, if anyone's not familiar, again, go watch Gigi's channel. It's amazing. So nowadays, other than sort of your life, where do you get inspiration from? Like, where do you come up with all your ideas?
I get inspiration everywhere. I would say mostly from the people I surround myself with.
Yep.
My best friends, they're all very creative, and like extroverts. They love just we love just creating random stuff. My girlfriend. In nature, if I see a cute little flower, I don't know.
What about other YouTubers? Are there any really inspirational YouTubers to you now? Who do you watch?
Oh, I'm obsessed. Okay, well, she's not really a YouTuber. Her stuff is posted online, but Wendy Williams.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with her.
Okay.
It sounds so silly, but I just have to catch up with her all the time. I love Liz. Obviously.
Okay.
I love Casey.
Yes.
Casey's really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like anything like up my alley, but it's just fun to see what he's up to.
Yeah.
And I've worked with him before for Samsung.
Oh yes,
yes.
I remember. Yep.
Which I think is still a secret. I don't know.
No. Not anymore.
My bad. I love other story times on YouTube. I think it's really fun. I honestly really watch everybody. I'm like subscribed to everybody, and I just scroll through and watch.
There's so much. What about if you could choose one person that doesn't have a YouTube channel? Who would you who would you wish to start a channel?
That's a good one. I would say, honestly, for anyone that's watched my film, everyone's like obsessed with my dad.
Oh.
So like, they're like, oh my God, I really want your dad to have a Twitter or an Instagram. And I'm like, he is like 50 plus. He's not trying to do all that. But I would love my dad to have a YouTube just because he has inspired so many parents out there. And I'm sure he has, a shit ton of questions that he could get asked and he could answer and help the world.
We will get to more on your dad later today.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't seen the film, I'm not gonna say he's
the star of the show. We're just gonna say he really is. He really is.
But no, he is also just like totally inspirational and again, we'll get to that, but he's a wonderful and in person he's just a wonderful human being too.
He's a sweetheart.
What about the impact that YouTube has had on your life? So you've had a major impact on a ton of people's lives, and we'll get to that. But what about the impact that YouTube as a platform has had on your life?
It's had a huge impact on my life. I don't think that I would be where I'm at right now without the website, because I feel like in my life growing up, I knew that I was different, and I always felt like I was different or special in a way. Rather than, the other people at my school or my family or my best friends or whatever. And I think that YouTube worked as kind of like a little bit of a therapist for me. Without me knowing it, I would just, talk about what I was going through, answer questions from people, but in turn, it was really helping my growth and my, being self-aware. And I think YouTube does that for a lot of people, unconsciously. It just happens because you really are expressing and you're talking and you're engaging. And it definitely helped me with my transition because it held me accountable. When I put up that video saying that I am transgender, it was kind of just my, telling the world, telling my family, telling everybody that watched the video that this is who I am, and I was to be held accountable for it, which it really, really helped in that sense.
Do you go back and watch those videos?
I really don't. No, I don't. I feel like I made so many mistakes along the way with just things I said and things I joked about. It's just kind of like cringeworthy. So I just keep it moving.
Keep moving forward.
But
again, all learnings, like you said, like this.
Totally.
Right? Okay, that's good.
No regrets.
No regrets.
But don't want to harp on it.
Fair enough. So to someone that hasn't seen your channel, which again, I'm sure everybody has, how would you describe your channel? How would you describe the Gigi Gorgeous brand?
Honestly, I just say my brand or my channel is just my life. I really, really don't hold very much back. Recently, I've been doing a lot of traveling for the film and for vacations and whatever, and I've kind of just picked up the camera and filmed my adventures, and I feel like you really are getting an inside look into me. I think before, in past years, I was very proper, and I would sit down in front of the camera, say what I had to say, and then I'd check out. But after the film came out, I think it's just, we called it This Is Everything for two reasons, because it really is everything. We're not holding anything back. All facets of my life are, there for you to see, my family, everything. The good, the bad, the ugly. And now I feel like it's just everyone knows who I am, and I'm not trying to hide anymore. So, sometimes you're gonna make up video, sometimes you get a travel video, sometimes you get a story time, whatever.
Yeah, no one can ever say that you are not being yourself.
Yeah, because I've always said from the beginning, anything fake really never lasts very long. So even if you are being fake about something here or there, I feel like people will catch on and they'll see. So even if people don't like you, just be real, because there's going to be people who will. And those are the people you want to be around.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the people you surround yourself with. What about how you engage with your audience? So obviously a huge part of YouTube is the fan culture, social media in general. So how do you engage with your audience both online and in real life?
My audience and my supporters and my consistent viewers mean the world to me. It is profound how much they mean to me, because they've helped me out of some of the darkest points in my life. I don't even know if I would be here without them, kind of stuff. And I think, I keep in touch with them. Well, just speaking as of recently, we've done a shit ton of screenings for the film. We just came back from the Middle East. It just feels like we're nonstop, and to see their reactions and to hug them and hear their stories before, after, during the film is so special to me. And I'm the kind of person that will log onto my Instagram and reply on DMs and stuff like that, but I'm more of an in the moment girl. So I love seeing people, hearing their stories like face to face. So whenever I get a chance to do like a meet and greet or a screen viewing, I'm just like all over that.
Yeah.
I'm like, yep, I'm there. What do I wear?
Well,
let's have fun.
What's the outfit?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the outfit?
What's the look?
What's the
Number
look?
one.
Well, again, and we'll talk a little bit more about Sundance later on.
Okay.
But that happened at Sundance, right? With the person in the audience that raised their hand, and where did you end up going?
Yes, okay, so really, really fast. This is like a 20-minute story. I'm gonna make it like a minute.
Short story.
So we had a question and answer moment after the film at Sundance. I had seen it for the first time. I was in like a 30-pound dress, just like, you know, I had no idea what I was in for.
She's not
Crying,
joking,
like 30 pounds, like
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
with like a slit, like a gown. No one else was dressed up. my family was there. My best friends were there. Barbara, the director of the film, called everyone up on stage for a Q&A. This young boy, like 16 years old, he's like, hey, I run a GSA, a Gay Straight Alliance at my high school, and not many people want to join, and I don't know why. What can I do to, you know, raise more awareness? Everyone thinks that I'm weird at my school, and I want, you know, the straight people at my school to join, to be an ally, and to, like, you know, kind of like give my alliance more backing. So I was like, well, where do you go to school? He's like, Malibu. I was like, are you kidding me? You're in Park City and you go to school in Malibu? I'll just come over. Like, we got, right? Like, I love Malibu. So
Nobu on the way.
Yeah, right? I was like, well, yeah, I'll just do Nobu right after. Like, it's so fun.
Yep.
So we ended up coordinating, and I ended up keeping my promise. I went over to his school, and the school did this like whole huge assembly. It was ridiculous. But we had kind of an open conversation, and I totally saw the energy in the room shifting from the beginning, because I know like how high school is, you know, you want to get out of class and like, fuck this, whatever, this is an assembly. But all of them never really cared. And then when we started talking, everyone was attentive, and we had a question and answer, and we had people coming up saying like, you know, I'm bisexual and I've never really said that ever before, or like, you know, I want to transition, like really powerful stuff. And to hear that in high school was just so rewarding for me. And I was just like, you know, I want to like do like a school tour. Like, this is just like, you know, this really is everything. This is like why I did the film.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, obviously there's a lot of pressure on you, right, as a voice in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel that weight being in the spotlight? Do you ever feel like there's things that you have to say, things you should be saying, things that you're not saying? Like, what is that like?
There's definitely a lot of pressure, and it sucks because no one should feel pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you should just be able to live. But I think that there's a lot of pressure right now just on anybody in the community to know everything, to, you know, do more. I really never feel like I'm doing enough or saying enough, but at the end of the day, how I keep my sanity is I just speak from what I know and what I've been through. Because I've never really tried to be the person that's smarter than everybody or trying to, you know, preach to you. There's plenty of other people like that. I'm just trying to have fun and give advice on things that I know.
Yeah, yeah. Share your story as a way to inspire others and a way to make people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you make the decision to come out on YouTube?
It was a really hard decision. I think my mother's passing when I was 19 years old was just the kind of like kick in the ass that I needed. It was like really a turning point for me. Like, if you're gonna, you know, waste days on days on days, you're just gonna end up being unhappy. And I knew that I wanted to do this. So I think after I told my close friends and I told my family, I really just decided to drive it home and go full balls to the wall on YouTube and just tell everybody who I was, because even if I didn't talk to them every day, even if they were a complete stranger to me, at least people would know that that's who I was.
Yep.
And that's what I was talking about earlier with holding myself accountable. It really did. YouTube really, you know, once you post it, it's out there.
There's no turning
yeah,
back.
there's no turning back.
There's no turning back. And, you know, we just talked about, you don't go back and you don't watch your videos, but you started your channel as Gregory, and you've left most, if not all, of the content up there. Why make the decision to leave it there?
It's so weird. It was never really a decision that I had to make. I didn't really think about, you know, oh my God, should I take all this down? Because I'm not an insecure person.
Yep.
And, you know, I want to leave all that stuff up because it makes me who I am. And it's also like I worked hard on those videos. You know, like I spent so much time doing that shit.
Yep.
So, you know, I have taken a few videos down because I don't agree with what I was saying in them necessarily. Can't really even remember the videos off the top of my head, but I know I have taken a few down, but all the rest are up there.
Yep.
That's how I, you know, came to be. And at the end of the day, it's just about being confident and owning it. You know, I'm not a different person now. I know a lot of transgender girls, especially, they'll go away for a year and then come back as a different person. And it's like, if you need to do that, that's fine. But I don't think that that's necessarily the most like honest way to be happy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's much more powerful to just let it all hang out and just, you know, be you.
Just let it all hang out.
Yeah.
I love it. No, that's great. That takes a lot of, again, it takes a lot of courage, and it just represents who you are as a person. What was the reception, not just amongst your fans, but amongst the LGBTQ community when you did come out? Like, what's been the reception like for you?
It was really, really positive.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were kind of caught off guard because I remember, it's honestly kind of hard to remember, even though it was only 6 years ago.
Yep.
I remember a lot of people, because I was always really, really like, you know, beat. My face was always done. And I was always in girls' clothing, and I just had insisted, no, I don't want to be a girl, no, I don't want to, because it was something I was asked a lot. So I think, you know, people online and people in my real life, like my dad was kind of just like, whoa, what? Like, you know, now you want to be? Like, what? That's not fair. Like, what are you talking about? So I think a lot of people were shocked, but I think a lot of people were happy just because I think they saw that I was realizing my truth. And I think that, you know, even if they weren't happy about it at first, I think in videos to come and in months to come, I think they were like, oh, this is actually who she really is.
Yeah. And when you were growing up, like, were the way you represent for young people today a voice in the community, was there anyone in your world, in your universe, that sort of represented that for you?
Honestly, no. I think nowadays kids have it really hard with social media and technology and all that stuff. I can't even imagine growing up nowadays in high school and elementary school. But I think they have it a lot better in the sense that they have role models like Caitlyn Jenner and, you know, Laverne Cox and all these beautiful, like, you know, Ellen DeGeneres was my one person that I was like, oh, she's gay, and I know that she's gay.
Yeah.
Other than that, but I didn't really like look up to her or anything like that, but I knew it was like something mindful. But I think people today have it so much easier because they have people out there that really fight for them and make it, especially transgender people who have people like that to make it like a household topic. You know, everyone knows what a transgender person is nowadays.
Right.
When I was growing up, that was not the case.
Right.
So I really didn't, and I think kids have it really well today, you know, to find out who they are.
Yeah. And you started saying, you know, you started name dropping some people.
Yes.
What about now? So are those some of the people that inspire you, or who in the trans community are inspiration to you nowadays?
Well, I love Caitlyn Jenner because she did make it such a household topic. You know, I don't think people were talking about being transgender until she came out because she was so, you know, in the spotlight as Bruce. So everyone was kind of like dying over like the gossip of that. But, you know, people like Laverne Cox, who is like truly an icon. Yeah, I mean, the Time magazine cover is just like insane to me. That's like such an honor. Good for
I remember
her.
when you met her.
I know. Yeah, we met her. Well, I met her with you. Yeah.
Creator Summit.
Yeah, she's so sweet. Like every time I've seen her, she's so sweet. And on social media, she'll just like, you know, shout me out. And she's just all about the sisterhood. And that's how it should be. But also Janet Mock, who is extremely intelligent. And she is the one to go to if you have any, you know, questions or, you know, whatever. Her second book just came out, and I have yet to read it, but it's going to be a good read.
I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She
Yeah.
really does kill it for us.
Yep. When you're making your videos, like, are you thinking about it from an educational perspective? Like in the same way you just said, you know, Janet Mock, as she knows everything, she has all the answers to every question. How do you approach your videos? Is it to be educational? Is it to be entertaining? Is it to be both? Like, what are you thinking about when doing that?
I think I'm honestly only trying to be educational when I'm doing like a makeup video or something like that.
Okay.
To be
All right.
honest,
Okay.
like just like techniques and stuff. But like for the most part, I'm just like living my life because at the end of the day, I think that the way people get educated, especially people who are, you know, have a little bit of discrimination in them towards my community or just, you know, anything, I think the best way to get them to wrap their head around it and to stop thinking that way is to just be you and maybe to add a little bit of humor or something towards it because it'll lighten them up and it'll also be like, oh, she's like a real person.
Yep.
You know, I've had so many fathers or mothers or, you know, people come to me and say, oh my God, my daughter and I like bond watching your videos. And initially I didn't know what she was doing, but now I get it. And now, like, you know, I'm a fan of you too, because it's just like watching a real person. It doesn't matter if I'm trans, it doesn't matter if I'm gay. It does not matter because I'm just a real person.
Yep. It's true. It's you.
Yeah, it's the way to educate through storytelling,
That's
you know?
That's right. So obviously June, Pride Month.
Yes.
You participated in Pride in New York last year. You did Pride in LA this past weekend. Obviously super fun.
So fun.
Okay. What do you remember your first Pride experience?
I do. It was actually with my manager, who isn't here today. It was in Canada. He had an apartment there, and I was like, I just want to go and like see the vibe, because I heard it was craziness, but I didn't know it was as crazy as it was. There was like, we all got together, him, me, and my best friend Mark at the time, and we just got drunk and we walked the streets, and there was like naked men everywhere and just like, you know, pride flags. But it was like the energy has not changed since that first Pride. This Pride in LA, I was hosting, I was working, I was on stage. But it was just like the same energy. Just everyone has a smile on. Everyone is like, you know, just dressing how they want. And sometimes that's an issue, you know. Sometimes you can't put glitter on your face without being stared at. But everybody was just like living their authentic selves, and it was just so fun. And you really do feel the energy.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's there just to live their life, be who they are. It's just a great experience. It's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the movie.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know, as part of our YouTube original slate this year, we released This Is Everything, Gigi Gorgeous, and Sundance. One thing, it was premiered as an official entrance to Sundance 2017. So why make the film? Like, why was it important to tell your story?
Well, initially, for anybody that's seen it, all of the footage that I self-shot, kind of like vlog diary style, all of that footage was footage that I planned on keeping secret. I kept it in a vault, I like to call it, just like in my computer. I really only made it for myself and my friends and my family to show them, like, oh my God, look what I did, or like, you know, like a video diary for me. And then when I was done with my transition, I was like, well, I have all this footage. So I kind of, you know, talked to my team, and I was like, I really want to do some kind of like film or like, you know, a video series or something. And then when YouTube Red approached us, I was like, wow, it's getting real.
It's real.
And then when we picked the director, Barbara Koppel, and when she had time and everything really worked out perfectly, it was like fate. It was just a thing. So I was like, here you go, here's all my footage. And then she was like, I want you to not see it until it's done. I want it to be a secret, which was really hard for me. But my first time watching it was at Sundance, and it was like, I wouldn't have it any other way.
I remember like looking over. Gigi was sitting a row in front of me. You were sitting next to your dad and Nat's, and I just kept looking over to see what your reaction was. I couldn't tell though, because I was behind, but it was first time. What was going through your head?
It was like, whoa. It was just like a whoa moment, because it was a huge theater, like just like a huge like IMAX movie theater, huge screen. We were sitting right in front, and I just remember when it started playing, I was just like, oh my God, we're here and we're doing this. And it went by so fast, and I don't even think that I watched it the first time. I think I was just like looking at how I looked or something. But like the second and third time I watched it, I really took it in, and I was like, oh my God, like this is done so well. I took myself out of it and just watched it as a stranger, and it's crazy how much A, I filmed, you know, B, I grew, and just like everything. It's just like crazy. I don't think, I mean, many people can say that they've seen their entire lives in 90 minutes. It was just like, wow, that's me. That's my whole life. Yep,
that was your whole life. You really did give over like complete and total trust to Barbara. What was that like? Like, how did you let go of the control?
I honestly just did it like a Band-Aid, ripped it off. I was just like, she wants to do this. And Barbara she's amazing. She is a true filmmaking artist. I mean, and she's been rewarded for that. She, you know, is very successful.
Two-time Oscar-winning documentarian.
Yes. So she's a pro. So when she said, you know, I want to keep this secret from you, and I really want to surprise you at Sundance. And at the time, we didn't know we were going to be at Sundance. I wanted to premiere it at Toronto. But Sundance obviously is like everything, so like wasn't pissed about that. But yeah, she just said, you know, I really want to surprise you. And I was just like, well, you know, if anyone's going to do it, it's Barbara Koppel, so kill it, girl.
Kill it.
And I was like, when am I going to see it? When is it done? When is it done? And I felt like it took forever because I wasn't involved, but it was worth the wait.
Yeah, as someone who, you still edit, you still do everything with your videos. So
Yeah.
I can imagine like giving up that control was probably pretty hard.
It was. And my dad was also kind of in on the secret. He was giving them like home videos because in the movie I wasn't expecting to see all of me as a baby or me diving. You know, I hadn't seen me diving since I quit.
Yeah.
So I was like, where did she get this? And then my dad was like, she emailed me and I gave it to her. I was like, oh my God, Dad.
What was the best part of the experience and what was the worst part of the experience in making the film?
I would say the best part is, well, there's two best parts. Watching it and having a movie like that documents the first 24 years of my life is like the best present I could ever get.
Yeah.
I think it's so surreal to me that all of that was on film and it was edited from her. It's just like the best gift. Number two is definitely watching it with my supporters and strangers. I love seeing their reactions to it, and I love that I know now that it's doing good in the world. Yeah. And the worst part, I would say, for me, is just anything to do with my mom is just like cringeworthy to me. I'm still dealing with her passing, so it's like reliving that when I watch it is just so hard. I cry like every single time.
Yeah, yeah. I can imagine that's not an easy thing to live and just to see on a screen.
Right.
Absolutely. There are some very personal moments in the film.
Yes, there are.
Lots of
nudity.
There's a little bit of that.
A little bit of that.
How do you feel about them now, and how did you feel seeing them on the screen?
Well, initially I was a little bit angry at like how, you know, my body was shown and the relationship I was in at the time with my ex-boyfriend. That was, you know, documented in the film because that was when we filmed. So why would it not be?
Right.
But now, like looking back, it just is like, oh my God, that was such a mistake, or like, ew, what was I thinking? Like, fuck my life. As anyone would feel. But you know, I was angry initially, being like, why the hell would she put that in? But like, I mean, that was my life. It's a documentary. You're not gonna leave everything out. Yeah. And as far as the nudity and stuff goes, I just feel like initially I was like, really, like I feel like the clip of my boobs when I first got them done, and they're so like, I mean, they're just not even boobs at that point. They're just like, it looks like so swollen and crazy. I was like, this is like so uncomfortable. I was like waiting for it to cut to another scene and it just kept going. Like, fucking hell, cut it. But it's the good of the education, the documentary. You know, at the end of the day, it is like a learning tool. So to see the process is interesting. But for me, it's like, those are my boobs.
It's true. In the film, you also recognize, and you say this, that you've been really, really fortunate, right? In a couple of different ways. You know, the support of your family and your friends in the early parts of your journey all the way to today. You also said, like, you know that's not the case for a lot of transgender youth, you know, who sadly sometimes go homeless, commit suicide. You know, what can you do, or what do you do with your platform to support those who don't have the same support as you did?
Yeah, that's something in the film that I think we could have acknowledged actually more. Okay. The fact that I was blessed. I think Barbara did a great job at that, but I think I just wanted to stress it more. I feel like I can never stress how blessed I was enough, because my dad really, even from the beginning, even though he wasn't on board, he never scolded me for who I was, or he never, you know, said you can't have this or you can't do this, because I was going to do it anyways. And he knew that. So he was on board with what I wanted to do, and that's like the world's best dad, or the world's best parent. And with my platform, I just really, really want to inspire people. And I know that people are not always as fortunate, but I think it's not, you know, the cards you're given, it's what you do with the cards you're given. And it's, even if, you know, I actually was doing an interview yesterday, and I think the person said 41% of transgender youth end up committing suicide, and it just is something like astronomically high like that, and it just breaks my heart that because I've been there, you know, like I think everybody can relate, you know, going through a period in your time in your life where you feel like you can't do it anymore. But I think for transgender people, or just people in our community, you know, it's kind of amplified, and it's not fair. but I think at the end of the day, you need to get it in your head that you're confident and you're gonna kill it, and things will get better. And that's what I plan to do with my platform. I always really just wanna inspire people and get the kind of bad talking voices out of their head and just let them see the positive and turn their lives around.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Your dad is, like we said, the star of the show. He's an angel. He's an angel. And at the end of the film, he sort of talks about, or says, he didn't have to learn a new person. Gigi's heart and soul didn't go through surgery. I thought that was incredibly powerful.
I know.
And that was where I really teared up. I thought it was amazing. There's a really nice scene with you and your dad after some of your surgeries.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps.
It was just, honestly, it's like you don't hear that enough in the world, and the fact that he is so incredibly supportive. And your personality's still the same, your interests are still the same, your hobbies are still the same. You started your YouTube channel doing something like makeup tutorials and testing products. Where do you see your content going? You said you're enjoying the lifestyle stuff. Where do you see it going in the future?
I actually don't know. I think it's like a beautifully unknown territory for me, because I think I just take every day as like another journey. And whatever I decide to film or post or not post, is beautifully up to me. And it's just wherever life takes me. But as far as projects going, I am the first transgender spokesperson for Revlon. Wow. Which I'm like, I mean, I'm dying.
Yes.
Yes, Revlon. So that's where I'll be going with makeup. And I think that's a huge, it's not only like a sponsorship and a partnership, it's like an honor to be the first transgender spokesperson for Revlon. I think it's a huge step for them, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah. I'm wrapping up my questions, so start thinking. We do have some mics, or we have a mic floating around, so feel free to think of your questions and come up and ask them. But a couple more questions for me. What's the experience been like with your brothers? Because you and your two brothers.
Yes.
And they were also incredibly supportive. So talk a little bit more about your relationship with them.
Well, my brothers and I have always been really close. I've always been different since, I was baby. But they have really good sense of humor. I'm the middle child, so I don't really know middle child syndrome, but I always required a lot of attention. I don't know if that's true it is? Okay, so middle child through and through. But my younger brother, we spent a lot more time together because my older brother went away to university, and I actually started transitioning when I was at home with my brother. So he kind of saw everything, and he knows, all of the surgery aspects and everything like that. And I was actually really surprised to see that they were included in the documentary as much as they were. And the fact that I think with your family and with my brothers and my father, just kind of talking about them as a whole, I hadn't heard from their mouths a lot of the things that they said. Like my brother saying, Gigi is transgender. It's as if she made up the term. That is her. I had never heard him say that.
Yeah.
And especially my dad and Adam, my older brother, crying on camera. I was just like, oh my God, they really love me. And just I don't know, hearing that, I don't know if it was Barbara's magic or what, but they really opened up. And to watch them say those things and to have that, on camera and as a film as a whole, I think it just speaks to how lucky I am with my family. I have the best family.
You do. The movie is a lot. Obviously, it's your journey and it's your story, but there's so much love in the film. And I had only seen it at Sundance for the first time too. I wanted to wait, and I was really, really surprised by that. I didn't expect it. So again, if you haven't seen it, watch the movie. It's amazing.
We're up for an Emmy.
Consideration for an Emmy.
But good vibes. We're putting out there that we are.
Good vibes in the world. But it was nominated for an MTV Movie Award.
Yes.
I know we didn't win, but nomination.
Who ended up winning that?
I don't even know.
It was
Adam, do you know?
rigged.
I don't even know.
Rigged.
I don't know. But again, fingers crossed. Emmys.
Fingers crossed.
But those are the questions I have. I hope people in the audience have some questions. Yes, we've got one over here.
First of all, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Love the talk so far. So part of our theme for Pride this year at Google is about showing up. So what would you say to folks in the audience or on live stream about showing up for the trans community, or what are ways you would say we could be the strongest allies to the trans community?
I saw so many allies when I was hosting Pride in LA, and even in the Middle East when I was in Tel Aviv. I just saw so much love and support from allies. I think being there, especially right now, during the time that we're in, I think coming out during Pride Month and really sharing everything on your social media, showing up is, I love that you guys are doing that, by the way. Showing up is like half the battle in life, you know, for jobs or whatever, it's just showing up. So showing, like duh. But yeah, I'd honestly just be like, go out to everything gay this summer. Right? I mean, I don't know what else to say, sorry.
It's true. It's true. It's just being present and being there is half the battle. I like that. Questions? Yeah, over here.
Hi, Gigi. Thanks so much for being here, first of all. I actually got to see the film yesterday. It was really cool to follow your whole journey and everything, so thank you for putting that out there. I'm curious, what would you say to a transgender person who either doesn't have access to the same kind of transition, or maybe doesn't even want to go through the same kind of transition, or even someone who identifies as non-binary, something like that, and what can we do to sort of kind of like fight for more acceptance of those identities and images?
Well, first, thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed the film. And of course, I'm happy to be here talking. I would say, being non-binary, identifying as that is kind of something new to me. I'm meeting a lot more people that identify as that, and it's really interesting. And I don't shy away from asking questions or anything like that. I don't think it's rude. I think that they, enjoy talking about it. I think a lot of people have that kind of like, should I? Is it rude? But like, how else are you gonna know? I would say, just to kind of like pivot for 1 second. I remember when I transitioned, a lot of, I would tell people, I'm trans, and I really would love for you to call me she and her, and use the name Gigi. And a lot of people would slip up, and they wouldn't even, I think I see a lot of people doing it with Caitlyn. They'll slip up and say Bruce and he, and then they'll just go on with their day. It's like, no, that's not okay. You need to definitely be on it, and I think that's one way to give confidence to a lot of people. If you're trans and you're being acknowledged how you want to be acknowledged, it is literally just like the best compliment. It's like you're giving like an unsaid compliment. Yeah. And I think for people who are non-binary, hearing they and them is so reassuring to them, and it's just like, I can do this. Like, I'm around comfortable people. I don't have to like cringe or worry. So I would say allies also can help in this, because they're the ones who we want support from. Yeah. Another transgender woman at the beginning of my transition saying she and Gigi to me wasn't as fulfilling as my father or my brother saying it. So I think allies can just support and be overly supportive. Just give them everything, make them feel good about themselves.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions?
So I think everyone in the LGBT community has definitely had a really rough point in their life, and I was wondering for you, what was your biggest motivation to get through those rough points?
My biggest motivation, I had a few. My supporters for sure, because I knew that I had to be held accountable for them and from them. Also my mom, she just, knowing that I could, one of my biggest regrets in my life is not being able to say to her that I was trans while she was still alive. And I knew it was going on in my head, I just couldn't work up the courage to do so. So I think, wanting to do that is obviously something 100%, but she keeps me going. I think about, what would my mom do, or like, I'm gonna do this for her, or I wasn't strong enough in that moment, so I'm gonna be strong enough now. It was definitely a huge reminder to me. It's a reminder to me every day.
Any other questions in the room? Yeah, over here. Oh, one there and then one here.
So, what would you say to someone in the queer community that's like just starting out and trying to find their voice and build a platform, possibly?
Well, it's a really good question. I don't even know if I can answer that fully. I would say if you're trying to build a presence online, I would say being consistent is number one. So maybe, having like a few ideas on the go and having a couple things like in the vault that you can really put out there to keep people interested, because there are so many people online. But as for real life, I think, if I'm understanding the question correctly, I think just being present as your authentic self, even if you are searching for something else, even though, if you don't know if you're trans yet or you don't want to go through with it, whatever, I think just living as you are right that second and waking up every day like with a really, really strong sense of self, because I think that will kind of exude and other people will catch the drift and other people will be inspired by your confidence.
We're just
That mic.
we're just starting to see decent depictions of us in media. Is there, fictional ones? Is there a favorite character, trans character in media that inspires you?
That's a good one. I love Zachary from Transparent. I don't know if that's my favorite. It's hard to say. Good question. It's such a cop-out, but honestly, I feel like Caitlyn is my favorite. I was just such a fan of the Kardashians before, so to see her transition and how good she looks, I just am such a fan. I'm rooting for her, and she is, I have a lot to thank for her, and so does the community. So maybe she's my favorite, maybe not. I don't know. I'm my favorite. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, over here.
Thank you. So I've been following you on YouTube like totally from the beginning, and I know you've come out a few different times in different capacities on your channel. And I'm sure for people that are not as connected to the LGBTQ community, that can be kind of confusing, and they might have a lot of questions about how you've got to the fully realized person you are right now. So what do you think is the most important thing for outside people to realize about that very personal journey of continually discovering yourself and finding your truth at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think yes, I have come out more than once online, and it's kind of a question I get a lot, but I take it with humor, because I have been online for a very long time, and I think people kind of, realize a lot of things. That Kylie Jenner meme? This year I'm just realizing a lot of stuff, or whatever. It's true, it's true. I mean, I look at my YouTube as literally a diary of how I'm changing, and a year is a really long time. So I think for me to be online now for 7 years, it's of course I'm a different person than when I started. So I think that just it speaks to, and I think it's inspiring of people to be look at her way back then. She is so much different now. Almost anything is possible. Because, I've experienced things and said things that I never thought that I would. And, who knows what I'll be, saying or doing next year. You never know, So I think it just speaks to authenticity, and authenticity comes in many shapes and forms, and people, realize stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I think it speaks to what you just said before to the other question. It's you wake up every day and you live your truth in the moment, and you're allowed, your truth and who you are is allowed to be fluid, and it's allowed to change. And as long as you're recognizing it and you're being true to yourself and being true to your audience, that's okay. And I think that's an important thing to recognize.
Yeah.
And again, not many people are held accountable in the same sense that you are. Everything's out there, and there's a lot of questions because it remains out there, which I think takes a lot of courage, and you should be very proud of.
Thank you. Yeah, YouTube definitely holds you accountable. If you post something, girl, even if you delete it, it's someone's gonna have that footage somewhere. Someone's gonna rip it and post it again or something, So it's you need to know who you are,
Yep.
And it's good because it's made me realize my authentic self, and it's I don't know if I would have been here without YouTube.
Well, we're glad that we could support you. If there are one more question. Great.
Hey Gigi, I'm Ricardo.
Hey.
Thank you so much for being here. So when we talk about Pride, we often talk about celebrations. But as many of us know, the first Pride March wasn't just about celebration, and especially today with a political atmosphere, there's a little more anger and resentment and resistance. So what would you say is the balance that we should strike between being happy and proud and celebrating all that we've done, but acknowledging the work that we need to do and why we need to speak up?
Good question. Honestly, I don't know if this is the right answer, but I feel like celebrating is almost the same as fighting back, because when you're out and you're having a good time and we're all together, it's almost like the biggest, you know, FU to society. And I know the Pulse Orlando massacre a few days ago celebrated the 1 year. And my girlfriend actually did something super special. We went there and we held a kind of like a little mini event, and it was so powerful. And even that was, you know, really, really dark and emotional, but I feel like we were celebrating our community and that we are still here. And you know, the nightclub was lined with a fence with roses and just so much love, things that like objects of love and like light. And I think celebrating, especially this month in particular, I think it's the most important month for us. I think, you know, showing up, celebrating, having fun, go have a drink with your friends, go to this event, you know, take pictures, post online that you're there and that you support. And I think that's fighting in a way.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And a huge thank you to Gigi for being here with Toxic Google. And again, if you have not seen her film, This Is Everything, Gigi Gorgeous, you can watch it on YouTube Red.
YouTube Red.
YouTube Red.
Huge shout out to YouTube Red. Thank you for all that they do.
And again, thank you so much for being here, Gigi.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me.